Hannah Strain is a 2L student with a primary interest in IP law and the current president of the Hastings Law Students for a Sensible Drug Policy. Here to give her speech advocating for change, the intersection of logic and science, please welcome Hannah Strain.
Thank you. I'm so excited to use my background in religious studies and film studies to give you this speech. So, we've been taught at law school to think rationally and analytically, even logically approaching introspective reflection of our own emotions. And as advocates, we have a responsibility to bifurcate our emotional responses to a situation and identify the relevant legal issues, as well as addressing any public policy concerns. However, for some reason, this is not the case when it comes to the war on drugs, but it should be. Turning to MDMA. MDMA is a pharmaceutical-grade ecstasy. It's a psychotropic amphetamine class of drug. It's a Schedule I substance, which means that the US government has determined that there is not only a very high potential for abuse of this drug, but there is no current medical accepted use of MDMA. But this is simply wrong. Prior to MDMA being scheduled as a Class I drug in 1985, there were numerous pioneers in multidisciplinary psychology like Leo Zeff and George Greer, who determined after clinical studies that there was in fact positive effects of using MDMA in conjunction with talk therapy sessions. MDMA, it increases the release of oxytocin and prolactin, which effectively decreases fear and defensiveness in patients. It lowers their inhibitions while increasing empathy and trust, which allows those who have been put into a traumatic experience to become relaxed and comfortable while discussing this traumatic event with their psychologist. Post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a debilitating mental illness, is in very high numbers. Returning service members suffer from PTSD. Recent studies show that at least 1 in 7 returning service members suffer from PTSD, and as we all know, many times surveys do not effectively capture the true number of sufferers because they're unwilling to come forward with their experiences. PTSD at a chemical level increases the activity in the amygdala, which is associated with fear, and decreases activity in the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortexes. In conjunction, that relates to memory loss as well as a real increase in the inability to learn new things. Researchers at the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, or MAPS, have recently jumped through many bureaucratic hoops to conduct a clinical study of the use of physician-prescribed MDMA in conjunction with psychotherapy to treat veterans with PTSD. In general, PTSD also coexists with a very high capacity to abuse alcohol and drugs. Over 780 people have participated in controlled clinical studies of MDMA-assisted psychotherapy, with far less than 1% experiencing any serious adverse effects. In MAPS's research, 83% of patients at their 2-month follow-up appointment no longer are diagnosed with PTSD. And that remains the same as the study is ongoing at the 3.8-year mark. Essentially, PTSD is treatable with only 5 to 3 doses of PTSD over a 5-week period. PTSD is triggered by a variety of highly stressful events such as war, sexual assault, torture, or car accidents, and millions of Americans are suffering either indirectly or directly from a PTSD instance, either themselves or watching their loved ones suffer from PTSD. In fact, MDMA-assisted psychotherapy could decrease overall drug abuse in the United States by treating the underlying issue. A lot of people turn to drugs and alcohol when they're unable to deal with the events that they've suffered through. So being able to treat the situation, the underlying cause, could in fact lead to overall a decrease in drug use of all types, as well as alcohol, in the United States. Currently, MAPS is the only organization in the world that's funding clinical trials of MDMA-assisted psychotherapy. Pharmaceutical companies are not interested in developing MDMA for 2 reasons. First, the patent's expired, so there's literally no profit in them for pharmaceutical companies in this field whatsoever. And second, it's a short duration treatment, the long-term results are achieved after only those 3 doses in 5 sessions over a few weeks. This indicates that our system and its approach to controlled substances needs a complete overhaul. Public health has taken a back seat to big business and the politics surrounding scheduling of controlled substances. The war on drugs is largely a war on people, the mentally ill, the diseased, the impoverished, and the powerless. As highly educated and often privileged individuals, it's our responsibility to use our resources, mental, social, economic, and political, to make sure that we're developing policies that are strongly rooted in reason and science, not propaganda. Thank you.